Hi, it's Xavier. Welcome to my bonsai retreat. And do you know what? Sometimes bonsai can be pretty daunting. In fact, a lot of the time it can be daunting, especially for those who are relatively new. And I've been doing this for over 20 years, and this is still daunting to me. And yet, it's really quite simple. So if you want to find out just how simple and what easy steps I take to take this great overgrown Hawthorn Yamadori stump and start it on the next stage of its bonsai journey, then you need to keep on watching, because truly it is actually quite easy. Now, I can't remember or not whether I've actually shown this at all. I think I might have a couple of years ago, and I put a little bit of wire on a few of these branches just to spread them out, so to speak. And then I left it, and it hasn't really been touched. I think, in fact, I know why. It didn't get touched last year because we had all the issues with the red cedar rust, which cross-pollinated, cross-whatever, and hit all my hawthorn. Truthfully, there is a few red spots on this, but what I did notice with that is that it didn't actually kill the trees. It just made the leaves look unsightly. So, you know, it's time we cracked on with this. But for those who are not aware, this was one of the first purchases that I picked up from the Doncaster Bonsai Experience a couple of years ago. I talked about these simple steps, and for me to do bonsai, things have to be simple. And the first step is to get rid of everything that you know is not going to form part of the project. And in this case, the first of those steps is down in the base. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. We've got an absolute ton of suckers and all sorts of stuff that's growing up. Anything that's low on the trunk below where the first of the branches start. So I'm going to first of all remove everything low down that you won't use. Everything that's growing up, so that you can start to see exactly what there is worth looking at on your tree. So I'm going to continue working around. We've got a root there, it's clearly died. I haven't looked at the roots in this. Bit of wire for some reason. Got this growth down here. It's confusing because it's getting in the way of what I'm looking at, and that's what we're trying to do is make it easier to see what exactly we want, and therefore what branches will we keep. So anything like this, it's all growing up from the base, it's diverting energy from where we want it. So let's remove it. It will never ever form part of the design. And I find that by adopting this bottom-up approach, I can start seeing the trunk line already. And I'm already looking here and going right under here. I'm not looking at these branches yet, but I've got little bits of growth here. Let's get rid of these. And then again we come further down here. I mean, I could look further up and already see up here I've got stuff that is never going to form part of the design. It's all new suckery growth that isn't part of, when I talk about branches that I've got 1, 2, 3, so I don't want anything more than that. Right, so I've cleaned out all of the trunk areas, anything close to crotches of branches, haven't actually touched the individual branches themselves, and I've held off the urge to remove obvious bits of length that I know I won't want. Step 2, and again the order you do the steps will ultimately come down to you, but this is how I do it. The second step I do is to start removing obvious things, and you have to be careful, because when I say obvious, I'm talking about stuff that is obviously either growing inwards or is growing upwards. And I could point out something very easy to you right away, and we've got a branch here that's going up, so my temptation would be to cut that now. The only thing I will do is I'll have a look further, look at the branch and see whether or not I could actually, with the application of wire, allow that to become actually a bifurcation of 1, 2 and lay it down flat horizontally. But if I go further back, we've got a junction here of 1, 2 and then also a third one coming out here. I could lay this one like that and then create a wired out section like that, so that is an option. But what I want to do is look at is, do I actually like the way that junction is? It's quite low on the tree, so I'm not going to be wanting to go lower down anyway. I've got something behind it, so it's going to be quite tight because this is going to be to the front of the tree. So I actually think I'm going to remove that upward one. There's another upward one there. Here I can see I've got a junction where I can take two, so let's flatten that off. And I've got another upward growing one there. Let's get rid of that. But do I want anything much further back there? I don't. So let's clean out stuff that's right at the base of these branches, which I won't want. And in fact, I'm tempted not to wire, but to actually remove that one. Cut that down. I've got something there. So actually that's going to be my branch there. You know what I'm going to say to you straight away, and you hear this all the time with bonsai, is it's not a race. Well, actually, do you hear that all the time? I don't know. But no, don't be in a hurry. And it's one of the biggest problems I think with filming bonsai for YouTube is we find ourselves in a hurry because, you know, it's like this, I want to get this ready for an upload tomorrow or whatever. That's the wrong way of approaching this, because this is a big project. This should take me, or could take me, anywhere up to half a day. And the one thing I have learnt helps, because this stage 2 process, you're literally going to work your way around every branch and you're going to try and define, basically what you're trying to define on this new stuff is your primary structure, or in some cases maybe some secondary branch structure. So you want to get this right. It's time consuming, but it isn't difficult. And if you've made the decision you're not going to wire, it actually becomes even easier. So what you're looking in this stage is get rid of everything that's low on the branch that you know you're not going to need. Got my hand up there like this. That's my stop. Don't cut me there. This is my no cut square. You'd have to understand the joke. That's something my daughter says in some other thing. But anyway, and what you're aiming to do is to just create that branch here, branch to the right, left, straight ahead, one underneath. A very simple but clear branch structure to start moving ahead with. And that's all you need to do in step 2 to every single branch there is.
It sounds too easy.
I always have at least one glove when I work with hawthorn, because you want to be clearing stuff away. So if I move to this branch here, it's coming from down here, and again I have to remember, I'm not yet making decisions about whether I'm actually going to remove those bigger branches, because I'm not sure. That could go for all the work I do. But let's look at this one here, same approach. I've got stuff that's right in close at that junction, which is masking what I can see. So let's get rid of that. Clear it up. Okay, so I can see I've got one off to spur off to the right, which is this one. I've got a spur here. This one, but I've got a real clear branch here that's going straight up. I will not be wiring it, so I'll remove it. So if I look at this being a nice flat spur along here, then this stuff here is not required. So where's this coming from? Okay, so I know I won't want that top branch. And again, it's just about helping yourself seeing a structure. Now it may be that I don't want any of that branch and I'm going to grow from this point. And think about how close that is to the tree. I don't actually think I do want that. Now I've got a branch coming out and then one to the left, and we've got something to the right, to the left, and then this great big long growth here. Well, I already know that, bearing in mind how far I've cut this one, I'm not going to come out that much further, unless if you're trying to thicken that branch up a bit, so you actually want it to extend out so that you can make this much thicker. And I'm quite happy, to be fair, that proportionally I want the stuff to grow out the same way. So I'm actually going to cut this back. I'm not looking for extra growth or length on it. I'm going to cut that one right back to there, because I've got a beautiful junction just here. There's something on top. I don't want any top growth and I'm not wiring it. Shorten that one, shorten that one. I've now got that pad sorted for now. If I'm uncertain, I'll hold the length out a little bit. If I'm really unsure, I'll go inside. If you've been out for a while, rather than force yourself to go on, take regular breaks. Have a look at what you've done. I've done 2 little branches here. I've started the process, so in here I'm feeling great. I'm thinking I'm going to be able to beat this monster, but I don't want to be carried away, because I could start hacking away left, right and centre. I mean, I've got stuff growing up here. I think, oh, I'll cut that. And then what happens is I look at it and go, actually, I might have wired that one, but I've already cut it off, so I can't. But I can cut off stuff that's growing backwards, and this one is growing backwards on itself, so I'll cut back to a bud that's going forwards. Anyway, I've reached that point now where I'm saying to myself, stop, go inside, cup of coffee, have a ponder on what you've been doing, and then maybe come back out in another half hour and continue, because that half hour can make all the difference to how that sees that. Because sometimes we can get a bit of tunnel vision, and we want to break the tunnel vision cycle as well. Right, well, it's a good 3 hours later. I had about a half hour lunch, bit of a ponder and a think, and I went and watched a Harry Harrington video about Hawthorn, and also one from Tony Tickle, both of whom do a lot of work with Hawthorn, in particular for Tony Tickle, I think it's Blackthorn. You'll see I've actually done quite a bit. I'm not entirely sure where the front is. I imagine the front's going to be somewhere around here. And all I've done is made it so we can now look and see individual structures within certainly the 2/3 of the tree. Now, last year, the year before, I checked back, and that's exactly what I did before. I just had a couple of these structures wired out. Each year, you build on your basic primary branch structure, and you start getting more and more shoots that come out and develop, and subsequently every year you're going to prune back tighter and tighter or whatever and pick the selection of branches. So this section or this stage is probably the hardest and the one you've got to take the most time with, because now when you look at it, if you compare it to how it looked when it first started, and I'm sure there's a picture coming on, sometimes you think, oh, why? How can you even get to that stage? Make sure you understand what every branch is trying to do and what your purpose is for it. The easy way to do that is to write it down on a piece of paper. Here, happy with the thickness, so all I'm looking to do with all this lower stuff is build ramification. Doesn't need to be healing, so that means I can cut back tight. Here, again, I'm going to be wiring it, but I'm happy enough with the thickness, don't need to worry about that. The same with this branch, and again, the back branch, I'm looking for this to go out a lot further, because I want this to be a much thicker branch. So this one I'm going to remember. I might even put a little ribbon on it or something to tell me, whatever you do, don't prune it. And I'm going to let this grow out. This one, I already like the thickness of this branch, but what it hasn't got is the secondary branch structure that I want coming off at the ramification. So with this one, I'm going to have to let the new sprouts grow out a long way so that they can actually match the thickness of that branch. And it can get quite confusing after a while, and I've certainly gone well wrong loads of times, and I end up just repeating my work every year. So take a picture of it and then write some notes of what it is you're doing, and keep it with your file. Again, if you've got a nice little database like I have, that's the sort of notes and bring up reminders you can put, because it's really important when you're building a tree like this, which is in various different stages of development. This one, although I don't like how straight it is, I could actually induce some movement with a bit of wire, but because it will eventually take over as a major branch, I need this to grow out and probably double in thickness. The only way that's going to happen is if I let it continue to grow upwards. So all I'll do is I'll remove anything that is just a waste of time and just let the rest of it grow out. So I want that single thing to just keep on growing, and hopefully it'll grow 2-3 feet. In fact, end of the year, let's have a look and see how far it does grow. Looking at this apex here, I've got the same issue here. This is going to be carved down, but I quite like the thickness of that, and equally the thickness of that. So this one I'm probably just going to be pruning this back. Okay, well, like all things I do, they change, and once I started to clear out up there, and again, same thing, the way to approach it was a great big tumble of mess. I just cleared out the junction, took away obvious right angle stuff, obvious things that were not going to be able to help me. As a result of that, I've got a clear bit of branch structure here and on here, and subsequently I looked at it and thought, do you know what, the only way I'm going to really be able to make effective use of this is to wire in a shape. It may not be the final shape, but it may help me get the new structure I want. I suppose step 4 is, once you've done all your pruning and you've made decisions, are you wiring or you're not wiring? If you're not wiring, then all you're doing is pruning constantly. I'd be bringing these right back down to the next buds, where I want those junctions to come out from. If you decide you are wiring, then you need to clean out your main branch structures to allow you to lay the wire, and then to work out the direction the wire is going to go based on how you're going to bend your branches and what you're going to do with them. And in this case, what I want to do is bring this around a lot further so this becomes closer in and horizontal, and this can go up. Okay, well, I've got the wire on to the different branches. Starting from this branch here, all I wanted to do with this one was take it across and away, and I've paired it with the one down here. This one's starting to come upwards, so I just want to take it down just a weeny bit. Okay, and that's going to also allow me to still think about this one, but that's giving a little bit of separation from these two. This one, I've just taken it away, so it's just coming a little bit away from there. Now all I need to do is manipulate this one. I just want to try and get a little bit more movement in there, but primarily just to see whether or not some of these horizontal branches I can put into better positions. And this one is going to be the same, so I'll get on and do that wire manipulation, which is step 4. To be fair, I'm guessing it's going to be pretty difficult for you to see what I've done, but I have laid these branches so they're actually now horizontal. Same here, I've got these out horizontal, this out horizontal, and a few branches are going upwards. I still need these big long lengths to go up because I want them to grow, and I want them to grow hopefully another foot or so to continue to thicken this. Because if I am going to keep this also needs to be thicker. And this, as I say, I've managed to put a little bit of movement into the back branch here. So what I've done more is just pull it a little bit further away from the stump, so that when I'm actually doing my work to try and carve around there, I'm not actually going to hit that. So just a little bit more, and it's difficult. It's quite a thick branch, so some of this wiring I could have done a year or two ago to make this easier. That's pretty well it. So now all I need to do, now that I've sort of wired the stuff up, I'm going to cut back a few of the side branches, leave the vertical stuff. And in that case, so this is the side branch, so let's cut that right back. In there, this is a side branch, cut that right back, just let that go. So we'll cut that right back. I think the key thing that has to come out of this on that initial structural selection, wiring, pruning, is that even if your final branches, you look at them and you think, I'm really not sure about them, they need to be defined. You need to be able to see them, you can see each pad where it's going, and then, you know, with a lot of these, they backbud so readily that something that you think, oh, too straight, not sure, you'll suddenly get these new buds coming out next year, and you'll be able to rethink the design. But because you've got clarity and separation, 1, you get airflow through there, 2, sunlight gets to hit it all, rain gets through there, you can get to see if there's any fungal issues or any bugs. This is set up now for me to actually take it on to the next stage, which is developing it into actually a bonsai rather than a potential bonsai or stump. Now from here I can also see quite clearly that there are some issues I can remove. Right here we've got a little stump there. And all I'm going to do is put some cut paste on that. Okay. As I say, we'll wait and see how stuff develops. I mean, I imagine this is going to put on a load of growth over the next couple of months. Right now, do I need to do anything more with that? No. The only thing I will make sure is it's got loads of feed in it. So something like this, I really want to feed it up well. Loads of biogold in there. And again, with all these things, when we've opened up this much, we need to water it well and then put it in a shady part of the garden. And I'll leave it in a shady part of the garden for a good few weeks, if not for the rest of the summer. So it gets maybe a bit of morning sunshine, but apart from that, it's pretty sort of indirect. We all have different approaches. Some of us are more wire orientated, some of us are a mixture of both, some of us will leave wire completely out of it. But the basic process and approach, the steps you take, should be the same. So hopefully this has been helpful to certainly some of the newer people to the hobby. Understand that never ever be frightened because you've got this great big bit of material and you don't know where to start. Base, moving upwards is my way, and then follow the principles that I've talked about. Hopefully you got something out of that. If you did, please, a big thumbs up. And if you think anyone else might enjoy this, then if you're part of a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group, then you would do me the biggest favour sharing on those groups. That will do more positive stuff for me than any number of comments. So please, it does help if you do that sort of sharing. Apart from that, I wish you all the best. If you find yourself a stump, get in there, tackle it. Worst thing is if all of this was wrong, this is healthy. It'll sprout new stuff out. I'll just have to wait a few more years. So, happy bonsaiing, God bless. Cheers.